Good evening, everybody. This is our AEW Dynamite review. I'm Jason, and this is Russell.
Hi.
And this is for the 2nd of March, 2022. We normally do the reviews quite soon after, but it's been a busy week, so we haven't got around to it. But we know we've got it in just before this week's show, so that's the good news. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick review, and then we're going to maybe just give you some comments on Revolution as well, because obviously Revolution's been the weekend as well. So it's going to be quite a busy one. So we'll kick off anyway. So the first thing on the show last week was the Tony Khan announcement. This was a big thing for me. This is one of the things that I was hoping for. I wasn't sure if it was going to happen because I was talking about the announcement, and I was thinking, maybe he will buy Ring of Honor, or there'll be I thought it might be a streaming deal. I don't know, something. But this was really good. This is probably the highlight of the show for me, actually. Because this was such a big thing, and it's we don't want to go into big detail, but this kind of puts AEW in a very similar, not obviously in the same place because they're very new, but they could now go for some sort of streaming deal like the WWE have got. So I think this is a very big move, and obviously, whatever happens with Ring of Honor, I personally think, and what I've seen so far, they're going to run it as a standalone promotion, much like what NXT was, the developmental brand. So the AEW won't have to get their developmental from NXT anymore. They'll be able to get their own developmental. So that's quite good for them. So I really like that. Tony Khan was, he's comes across very genuine, I think. So the only thing that I picked up on this, I don't know about what you thought, Russell, as well, but apart from Excalibur, who seemed very overwhelmed, they didn't seem overwhelmed. To me, this is a really big, like, wrestling story, probably one of the biggest for a long time, I think. Jim Ross was like, it was just like, it's like another day. Tony Schiavone didn't seem overly excited. I think Jim Ross's comment was, he's on a roll. Well, I'd like to have seen a bit more fire from the announcers, but Excalibur seemed like genuinely excited. Because to be fair, he's probably the only one who's actually seen Ring of Honor. So, Jim Ross probably hadn't, because I'm not kind of like, well, basically on the announcers, I think this kind of leads into that really. And Excalibur, this is for me at least, he's head and shoulders above everyone on this promotion. Certainly on commentary. I think Jim Ross has completely lost it now. I think it's time to put him out to pasture. Half of the time, he doesn't know what he's saying. It gets names wrong. He doesn't know what moves are called. I think it's there as a nostalgia act. I think really that's all now. So I'd be tempted to move him on and bring someone else in who actually can do a decent job of announcing. So that was my only thought on that, Russell. So that's me.
Yeah. Great way to open the show. Obviously, a huge announcement. I agree that it's probably beneficial of them to potentially run Ring of Honor as a standalone promotion. I think that's the way to go moving forward. Because if they just end up signing the Ring of Honor guys to AEW contracts, I think that would be detrimental to the roster because it's already overly diluted as it is, if that's the right phrase. There's already way too many wrestlers on the roster, so I think doing that would be more of a hindrance than a help. Totally agree about the commentators. Excalibur, yeah, he's the best of the bunch. I agree. What I don't like is when he keeps coming out with great tiara when it's a flying head scissors or a hurricane rana. That really bugs me because what is a tiara? I've never heard it called that before I started watching AEW. So where has that come from? But yeah, I agree. Virtually no reaction from any of the commentators except Excalibur, as you say, which I found a bit odd. You know, it's a massive, massive thing, massive announcement. Sound and appear more interested. And the other thing I wanted to mention, somebody else picked up on it on something that I read online the other day. Tony Khan always looks as though he's on something when he's in the ring making an announcement or cutting a promo. Yeah, not sure exactly what's going on there, but he does always seem a bit spaced out. So, yeah.
No, yeah, I think to be honest, I think he just really he's really into it. I think he's Tony Khan, and obviously, for him, spending 40 million, if it is 40 million dollars or whatever, I suppose that is a big thing for him. It's it's not like going out and buying a video game. He's spent a bit of money, so I can see why he's excited. But I just, if I was him, I'd be having a word with the announcers and saying, look, try and get behind this thing. It didn't. He made it sound as a big thing. Excalibur did to some degree, but the rest of them, it just felt like business as usual. And I think as an announcer, part of your job is to get things over, not just wrestlers, but the things that are going on. So I like that. I like that their attitude on it anyway. But a great announcement. So that's me. So anyway, that was the start of the show, and I thought that was a good place to have that announcement because I was super excited about that, and I wouldn't have wanted to wait till the end of the show. I'd have been a bit frustrated, so it was nice to bring that in straight away, I thought. So then we went on into a nice match, which kind of fitted together. Danielson versus Christopher Daniels, very much a Ring of Honor style match. Which I like that. I quite like that. I don't know if I'd want to see every match like that, but it's nice to do it. And it was nice to do it after the announcement. I think that was a nice little touch. So there's been a bit of thought gone into that, and I like that. It's to say no issues with the match. Obviously, Danielson was going to win the match, but it was good and that nice bit of, again, a bit of nostalgia there. Ring of Honor guys having a Ring of Honor match. I wouldn't be surprised if Danielson does win or go to Ring of Honor and win the Ring of Honor title again. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, and maybe bring the title back to AEW and have some sort of title for title. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened in the future. I could see that being a nice idea as well, really. So that was on my only thought. I didn't have any real other thoughts on the match other than, yeah, it was nice match.
Yeah, I agree. It was a good match. I put in my notes, Daniels and Danielson put on a clinic. Just wanted to say something about Daniels quickly. The things that he can do in the ring at his age, astounding. He even commented on it himself during the match when he hit that moonsault off the ropes. I'm 51. Look what I can do. Yeah, exactly. Wow, 51 years old, and he's outperforming a lot of the younger guys. So yeah, that was my only comment from that, really. But no, decent little match, as it was always going to be with those two. Both great wrestlers, and I agree, as you say, it was nice that they put on a Ring of Honor style match after that announcement. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. To me, Daniels doesn't even look. If you were to say that Daniels was in his 30s, you wouldn't think that was weird, would you? It don't look like you get some of the wrestlers who are aging and they look like they're getting old, but he doesn't look. He could easily get away with being in his 30s, 40s easy, I think.
Yeah, he's in really good shape.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that just goes to show, you see, he's in better shape than our little friend who was in the main event. So, that's what I would say. But anyway, so that was the match. Then the next after that, went straight into this interview, Danielson and Moxley interview. I thought it was very good. Both of them pretty good, really, on the mic, and good build for the pay-per-view. And that's really what it was intended to do. Made me be interested in the match. And as I say, yeah, both of them again come across really, intense and quite genuine as well. So yeah, as I say, again, another good segment there. No issues with it at all. I liked it.
Yeah, I didn't actually make any notes about that, but as you say, nice little build up for the match. Um, I thought the match itself was one of the stronger bouts on the pay per view, but we'll get to that in a minute. Um, yeah, not much else to say about that. As you say, good little segment, good build up.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, what you need really, just basically a little bit of a promo for the pay per view, really, which is good. Then we went into Darby and Sting. Uh, Again, a little sort of promo interview, really. And he mentioned, thing what I thought was a bit weird. He mentioned the TNT Championship on Rampage, which fair enough, but you have got a pay per view coming up as well. So I'd have been tempted to sort of mention that as well, or really, but I suppose that was kind of leading into it. I suppose was the idea. I'm as we've mentioned previous weeks. I'm not into this really. I don't feel like there's been any build. I don't feel like there's any reason for it really, other than like these guys haven't got what else to do. To me, Darby's the biggest one of the probably I'd say top certainly top 5 stars in AEW. I don't know why he's in a tag team. I don't know why he's doing a trios tag. I don't really get it. He's to me he's a big name. He's one of the biggest names they've got on the possibly one of the biggest pay per views of the year. So
who's that? Sorry,
Darby Allin.
Darby.
I don't really get it, me. So I don't get this whole match. So I wasn't that interested in the interview because I'm not interested in the match really, if I'm honest. I mean, it may be a good match. We'll talk about that later. It may not, but to me it was a bit pointless. That's all. So I thought it was a pointless interview. But then again, I feel like the feud and the match is pointless as well. So
Yeah, completely agree. If there was one match on the pay per view that I wasn't excited about or looking forward to, it was definitely that one. Yeah, I get that they need to build up some interest in the TV shows as well as the pay per views, but the pay per view is the bigger show out of the two, so why not focus on that during the interview segments? Yeah, I'm with you on that completely. So
yeah. So that was my thought on that in general, really. So the next match was the Casino Tag Team Battle Royal. This was much better than look, if we go back to last week where they had just the normal Battle Royal, whatever it was. This was much better. Seems like they did it. It was much better worked, much better prepared. They even had intros, which I really like, obviously. So where you get to see the people and you get to get over to the crowd a bit. So that was a good bonus. But this was a good, to me, this was a good example of how you do these things right. Whereas last week, how you don't do them right. I think Top Flight was back. So I like Top Flight. I think they're an exciting team, but I've got a problem with them. I don't like the political statements in wrestling. I don't think we need it. I don't think it's a good idea because obviously everyone's got their own specific political views, and if they're wanting to get AEW over to a wider, broad section of fans, I don't think they should be doing this. I think it's a mistake. So the problem is, I like Top Flight and I think they're very talented. But the fact of the political statements in your face, it's not my cup of tea, really. So I didn't like that, really, which is a shame because I like the team and I think they're very talented and I think they could have a good future. But I just don't think this is the right way to go. That's my personal opinion. Obviously, a lot of people would disagree with that. The other thing I thought about, Russell, when I was watching this, is that AEW need more gimmick type events or gimmick matches, not silly ones. But when you look at the other promotion, which I don't like, but I think they need a bit. They had the blood and guts thing, and they've got the Casino Battle Royal, but really they don't have a lot of gimmick matches. You know,
No,
I think specific ones that they've kind of designed themselves, much like kind of a Royal Rumble type thing. So I think that's something that I would look at if I was Tony Khan or AEW. I'd think to myself, well, let's bring some of these new kind of ideas out, which kind of WCW did a few of them. Some of them were good, some of them weren't very good. But, you know, I think it's worth having a go at that because it makes things a bit different. So that was that. That was just a thought I had when I watched that. It was much better than the previous week. Like I said, I think the all match was very good. You know, overall, the action was great. It was the people, even the people in the matches were actually doing things properly. They weren't waiting to get eliminated, and everything looked more realistic to me. So, and the tag team division in AEW is absolutely stacked. It's like I've never seen. I mean, I don't think, looking back, even to going back to sort of WCW days, I don't really think there's been a tag division that as stacked as this before. So really good stuff. The other thing that I sort of picked up as well is that we've got a bit of a feud coming between Santana and Ortiz and 2.0. So I think that'll be an all right little feud, and obviously that will then project Santana and Ortiz into the title picture, I think. So that's what I kind of thought from that. So I really liked the match, apart from some of the little things that I didn't like, but not necessarily the match itself. But yeah, I thought it was a very good match.
it was a good match. Definitely an improvement on the week before, as you say. I liked that the intros were included, which you touched on. The return of Darius Martin from Top Flight. I must have missed something. What was the political statement that you were referring to?
Well, they both do it, and I can't if it was both of them or one of them, but they have the BLM armband on, which, you know, to me, I wouldn't go down that road, because whether you agree with that or whether you don't, there's a lot of people who don't agree with it, and I just think you're disenfranchising a lot of potential fans. I've seen a lot of people on social media who won't watch AEW because of the fact that they're seen to be leaning in a specific political direction, even though they like the stuff. So I just think that, you know, I mean, WWE doesn't do it, I don't think, which, and I agree with that, and I don't think some promotions tend to do it. Impact tends to do it a little bit as well, which I don't like either. But I suppose it's personal preference. But I just think if you're trying to appeal across the board and bringing new fans and bringing fans across the board, I think you need to kind of pull that back. There's obviously a few people in AEW who have very different political views, because I know what some of them are. I've seen them on Twitter and things. So I just think keep politics out of wrestling, really. That's what I would do. That's just my opinion. Especially if you want to grow the brand and you want to grow your fan base, I think you've got to do that. That's what I think.
Yeah, going off on a tangent, this is nothing to do with wrestling, but you just made me think of it. I've got a friend that I go to karaoke with most weeks, and he sang Imagine by John Lennon when we were out the other night, and he changed the words to Imagine all the people living in the Ukraine. I'm like,
Right.
what are you doing? And the DJ, who's another good friend of mine, had a go at him and said, you can't be doing that, mate. We've got Russian people who drink in this pub. You can't do that, because you never know who you might offend.
Yeah, exactly. Agree with that.
Same sort of thing, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not, you know, I was going to say, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but it's like, for example, I don't think you should bring politics into sport anyway. I think you should keep it separate. You know, I mean, everyone's got opinions on wars and who's right and who's wrong or whatever, but I just don't think I don't think it benefits AEW to do it. That's what I'm saying. Whether they agree with it, but at the end of the day, they're working for AEW, and if you've like, you only need, we know what people like these days. You only need to say a comment, and all of a sudden, like, everyone's offended. So, keep it what it is, wrestling. Get the characters, playing the gimmick, the characters. But I wouldn't do that, really. So, and like you've just said, that's another good example. It's I just don't think it's a good idea. So that's my advice to Tony Khan, for what it's worth. Because I 100% believe that they're losing fans because of this type of thing. I 100% believe that. So that's my thought. So, sorry, go on, Russell.
No, you're going to say something.
No. Just have you any more comments on that? Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I was just going to mention the fact, obviously, that the Young Bucks won the match, as we predicted a while ago. So we ended up with the triple threat match, which we anticipated that they were building up towards all along, which I think was the right way to go. The three of the best teams in AEW. So yeah. And it made for a decent match, but again, we'll get to that a bit later. So,
yeah, I think we both predicted that would happen. So, yeah, I think that was the right result, the 3-way. So, yeah, good stuff. So, next up, we've got a little interview segment again. Chris Jericho interview, and he had a little bit of a showdown with Santana and Ortiz. That was okay. It's quite intriguing in a way, because you've got to think, well, which way is this going to go as well? So even though it's only short, I thought, oh yeah, interesting. I personally think that Jericho will turn heel soon, and I believe that Santana Ortiz will stay as I think the kind of face now in it as well. So I think this is kind of building to that full heel turn, really, that Jericho, I think, is going to have. That's what I think.
Okay, yeah, you might be right there. I put Jericho continues to taunt Kingston, and then I put Santana and Ortiz fist bumps, because they gave Jericho a little fist bump each at the end of the interview, and I was like, okay, what's that all about? Any thoughts on that?
I think they're going to work an angle where I think he'll turn. I think Jericho will actually turn on them, because I think a lot of people expect them to turn on Jericho. I think it'll be the other way around. I think he will turn on them and become like a big heel guy. That's what I think will happen. And then obviously I think possibly Santana and Ortiz will align with Kingston as well. I think that's possibly on the cards. So I think that'll be interesting. So yeah, that's what I think that was for. And obviously you're building towards the Jericho Kingston match at pay-per-view as well. But I think this is going to be something more to it as well, I think.
Jericho has always been better as a heel for me anyway, I think. He tends to thrive more in a bad guy role than he does playing a face, in my opinion. He's just a naturally cocky guy. And why shouldn't he be? He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think I do prefer him as a heel as well. I think he's better as a heel. I think his personality is more heelish, even in when he's just being normal. I think he's got that edge as well. So I think I think that's a good move. Turn him heel. I think that's a great idea. So then we moved on to another interview, Punk interview and MJF. Again, you can't really fault. I can't think you can really fault these things, because these two are the best. The going might be possibly the two best. You can't. It was pretty much spot on, really, for me. This is exactly how you build a match. To me, this is the best match on the pay-per-view, the most anticipated match for me by a long way. I would have even tempted to put this as even a main event. So again, this is just a perfect build for a perfect feud. Really, I think it's just amazing. These two, if one of these two isn't champion within the next year, then I don't know what's happening really, to be honest. So that's me.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the matches that I'm looking forward to the most on the pay per view itself. Um, I wrote down Punk questions MJF's sincerity, and then I put MJF hugs Punk question mark exclamation mark question mark, and then after that, all a ruse. Punk's face is a crimson mask. But yeah, as you say, perfect way to build up anticipation for their match at the pay per view. So yeah, not much more to say about that other than when we get to it on the Revolution side of things. So
yeah, really good. I haven't really seen many bad things from these two at all, really, because just it's going to be good. Obviously, there's a lot of thought goes into it, and that's what. And I think everyone should take note of what the stuff that they do, really, because this is the nailing it every time, I think, and it's must see TV in it as well.
Definitely,
that's the thing. So the next one again, another interview, which makes sense as well. You've got a pay-per-view coming up literally in a few days. This is really good. This is basically like a promo show for the pay-per-view, which I think is exactly kind of what you should do, really. So Keith Lee interview. Yeah, okay, I like no. I'm happy with Keith Lee. Starks is kind of like, I'm quite enjoying Ricky Starks. I think kind of quite funny actually. I like him when he does the voice. The Keith Lee voice, really funny. I think we're going to have a Team Taz versus Keith Lee. I think that could be potentially quite an interesting little feud, especially when Keith Lee goes through Team Taz and then they send in Hook. That's going to be super interesting. I think I'd pop for that one.
Sorry. You froze a bit there. I missed part.
Yeah, so I was just saying that I feel like Keith Lee's going to have a feud with Team Taz. I think he's going to go through Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs, and then I think they'll send in Hook, and I think that's going to be a huge thing as well. That's going to be a big pop. That.
Okay, my phone's ringing, but it's not important, so we'll ignore it for now. I like Keith Lee. I liked him in NXT. He's a decent big man type wrestler. I didn't actually make much of a note about that, other than just to say Keith Lee is geared up for Rampage, because obviously they put him in a match prior to the pay-per-view. Yeah, not much more to say there, really. I agree with what you said about Ricky Starks. His impression is spot on. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and it built up a bit of anticipation, and made me look forward to the ladder match a bit more. So yeah, done.
Yeah, good. It ticked the box as well. I think the Team Taz thing. I'm quite looking forward to that as a little bit of a sort of a not a huge big feud, but I think it'll be interesting. So that'll be good. Then we had a match after that. We had Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Thunder Rosa and Mercedes Martinez. I think this is probably the best women's feud in AEW. I think it's been going on for a while, but I think it's the best feud. I really like Jamie Hayter. I'd be tempted to do a bit more with her, and get rid of Rebel as well. I think just a waste of time, really. I don't really. I talked about this before, but I don't really know what she's there for, really. Whether I don't know whether she's injured or whatever, but I don't really think she ever wrestles either. And she is a wrestler, so that don't make sense either. So, but I like Jamie. I think Jamie Hayter looks really legit and really tough, and she's got a real good. She just got a good aura about her. I think she could be a decent star if she's got a decent kind of gimmick and pushed a bit. What I was thinking when I was watching Jamie Hayter is, I don't know if you remember, Russell, from probably last year or something, not sure, but when they had Sadie Gibbs in AEW, I like Sadie Gibbs, and I think if they wanted to bring Sadie Gibbs back, she's English as well as Jamie Hayter. I think that would be a nice little combo there. And they're both real powerful. They've both got mean intent, and I think that would be ace. That from obviously people who are from England as well. I would love that. So that's one thing. Tony Khan, get Sadie Gibbs signed up, team her up with Jamie Hayter, and there you've got a mean tag team there.
Sadie did. Sorry.
Yeah, Sadie Gibbs.
Not familiar with that name.
Right. She was in AEW at the beginning, but then I think when the pandemic happened, she couldn't get in. She was locked out. So, yes, British wrestler. Very similar to Jamie Hayter, really. Quite powerful, very super fat, super fit woman. Quite very charismatic, actually. So that's what I would look at. I don't know if she's actually. I'm not sure if she's kind of semi-retired, but she's not old. So it's just a case of, giving her a call or something, really. So that's what I thought. But it's over to you, Russell.
Okay. The only thing I put down for that bit was Thunder Rosa pins Britt Baker ahead of Evolution, which I think was the right way to go. It left some. Can't think of the word I'm looking for. Curiosity, not the word I'm looking for, but it'll do. Over whether or not that would end up being the result in the title match itself. So yeah, good little tag match. I like Britt Baker. I like Thunder Rosa. I like the feud as a whole. Two of, if not the two best women's wrestlers in the company, in my opinion. So I think they're right to book that match. So yeah, not much else to say, really.
Yeah. So that was a good little bit of action there for the women. And then we had straight into an interview with Ty Conte and Jade. So I like this. As you know, I'm a massive fan of Ty Conte. And I like Jade as well. Just think it's a bit early for Jade, but I still think Jade will be a big star when she actually, gets a bit more experience. So to me, I think these are two of the future stars of AEW. I think Ty Conti could be the champion now if they wanted. I think she's talented enough. Jade, I don't think she's really there yet, but I think she's got the look. She's got everything apart from really the experience. So these two, for me, looking forward, I would say to me, these are the two of the future stars, I think, of the women's division, for me anyway.
Agree regarding Ty Conti. Jade Cargill, not so much. As you know, I'm not a fan. I don't get this whole undefeated thing. I think she's green. It's no coincidence that she wears a lot of green in her outfit, because that's exactly what she is, in my opinion. And I wrote down, Conti can't touch Cargill before the pay-per-view, which, again, is a good move. Built up some interest in the match. I have some thoughts on the match itself at the pay-per-view, but I'll touch on that a bit later. So yeah, that was my only thought on that, really. Just that they were banned from having any contact with each other before the match on the pay-per-view, which made good storyline sense. So yeah,
that was good. So after that, we went into some kind of ad break, but Sammy was doing his cards as well again, and I sometimes don't pay attention, but I did on this occasion. So he was talking about the Rampage 3-way match.
Yeah.
To me, if it was me, this would have been the pay-per-view match. I think, Sammy, Darby, and Andrade. That would have been the pay-per-view match for me. I kind of understand that they wanted to get Sting involved. I get that, but this to me this is a big match. So I mean, it's good that they're putting it on Rampage. I accept that, but I would this wouldn't have been out of place on the pay per view. This match, the one that he's promoting now. I mean, so I just thought to myself, yeah, great match. It made me want to watch Rampage, I suppose, and that I guess that was the idea. But it would have been pay per view quality match that as well.
I haven't even seen Rampage yet. I skipped straight to the pay per view. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, not you don't have to see it, but I'm just thinking of the match itself. It's pay per view quality. I was thinking, so that's what I thought really. So, any thoughts on Sammy and his cards?
Um, I'm with you. I don't really pay much attention to that, so I can't remember exactly what he said. For being honest, but yeah, yeah. You're gonna have to remind me what he said. Sorry.
No, it was just. I think it was really just about this three-way. I think, to be honest. So nothing exciting, but that's what I thought about that. So we had a match next: Wardlow versus Cesar Bononi. Just a bit of a squash match, really. I think.
Yeah.
Again, liked it. I like Wardlow's squash matches. It gets him over. He looks good. The Powerbomb Symphony's really over. So, and we talked about this weeks ago, I think. Soon as he dropped that silly move, soon as he started doing the power bombs, looking like a proper big man, he got over really quick. So it just goes to show that a little bit of thought in your character and the stuff that you do. If you're a big guy, don't be doing some silly little moves. Use big power moves because that's who you are really. So it just goes to show that if you try and if it fits with your character, you'll get over. I think, and I think this proves it because Wardlow super over now.
You froze again a bit there. Sorry.
Oh no.
I caught you. Yeah, I caught what you said, but the picture froze for a minute.
No worries.
So,
Yeah.
Anything else to say, or is it over
No, sorry,
to
over
me?
to you, Russell. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'll just basically that's all I've got to say on that. Really. Yeah, just really over guy. Yeah, really good.
Okay. I made a short note about Chris Statlander and Layla Hirsch. There was a bit between those two before the Wardlow match. Yeah, nothing much to say about that other than the two of them were heading for a showdown. I think it was one of the matches that was on the buy-in, wasn't it?
Right.
So yeah, but yeah, another dominant win. As you say, a bit of a squash match because Cesar Bononi is one of the wrestlers on the roster who's probably not that well known unless you watch Dark and Elevation religiously on a weekly basis, which I don't anymore because I don't have time. Yeah. But yeah, totally agree with what you said about the Powerbomb Symphony. When they did that segment with Sean Spears a couple of weeks ago, where he said, drop the Powerbomb Symphony, it's not getting over, I had to laugh because I was thinking, no, you're wrong. It is getting over. I think give it a few months or so, and Wardlow will be a big star. I wouldn't even be surprised if he ends up winning the TNT Championship, to be honest. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. So after that, we had a House of Black vignette. I like the House of Black. Big fan of them. Big fan of Malachi. Like the gimmick. Love everything about him. Really. So I love all these things. Only thing I'd like to see for the House of Black is to have some kind of decent storyline for a change, where there's some actual real good storyline or some feud that's just doesn't look like it's just been put together in like 5 minutes. But I love the stable. I would like mind seeing these guys get some gold, really, either I'd like to see Malachi Black with a title personally, a singles guy. But even if not, then I like them all. I like all three of them actually. Even the new guy, it's a good stable. So yeah, I always look forward to these vignettes from them because they're always well thought out. They're always very imaginative and they're getting themselves over and that's what they're meant to do. So yeah, I liked it.
I don't like them. I find them confusing, and Malachi Black speaks very quietly, so I can't always hear what he says, especially at the moment because, again, nothing to do with wrestling, but I've had a blocked left ear for about a month. So, but that's just me. I could turn the volume up, but yeah, I mean, I agree that they could do with having some gold around their waist. Could you see them potentially taking the tag titles off Jurassic Express?
Yeah,
that's a route they could go down. Or
yeah, I'd like to see that, but I think did they get a loss last week or something? I can't remember. I think they did, didn't they? Get a loss against the Penta Pack team, I think.
Yeah.
So that to me, I found that quite disappointing. I wouldn't mind seeing them have a run with the title. I don't think they will. I think they're quite far down the pecking order, really. So, but I would like to see them in a some kind of meaningful feud where even if they dominate it, just to see them in action, really, and to see them do the thing, really. Because I think everything they do, I personally find it very interesting. Everything they do. So that's what I'd like to see more of that, right? But that's me. So, any more thoughts on that, Russell? Any more thoughts on the House of Black?
Not really. I just put another confusing House of Black vignette. As I say, I don't always get what's going on there. I don't know, as I say, if it's a volume thing, if Malachi Black speaks too quietly, or if I just, for some reason, I'm not quite getting what's going on there. I don't know. But as with all of Dynamite, I'll keep watching and see what happens. So
yeah. So that was the and then we led on then to another match. Page in the Dark Order against Adam Cole and Red Dragon. All right. The only thing I would say about this is Page is your world champion here. And he's teaming with the Dark Order, which really kind of mid-card, really, I think, even though there's a few decent talents in there. But I don't think it's really helping him knocking around with the mid-card crew, really, if I'm honest. I don't think it's really that great for him. So that was the only thing. Match-wise was okay. I like all these guys. I personally really like. I'm really liking Red Dragon. I'd be tempted. I mean, my original prediction was that hopefully they would win the titles at Revolution. Obviously, we'll talk about that as we go on. That was my hope. So it was. I liked, again, all these are quite talented guys. You're always going to get a good match out of it. I like the post-match beatdown as well. So I thought it was good. But I really like Red Dragon. And I think the problem is it's a good problem to have, I suppose. But because AEW is so stacked with tag teams, it's just to get a title, it's just not easy. I mean, there's a half a dozen really, really solid tag teams that deserve the titles. So it's a tricky one, really, I suppose. So that's what I thought, really, about that match.
No, I agree, and harking back to what we were saying about the Casino Battle Royal, it just serves to demonstrate how deep the tag team division in AEW actually is. Agree. Red Dragon, great tag team, but then they always have been. They were great in NXT. I believe they teamed up in other promotions, but I'm not familiar with their work in those. But yeah, decent little team. I just put Adam Cole and Red Dragon gain momentum prior to the pay-per-view. Obviously, they got the win. Yeah, decent little match.
Mm.
Main event, strong main event. I thought the show. Sorry, go on.
No. Just agreeing with you, really, Russell. That's all. Yeah, just agreeing.
Okay. Yeah, I thought the show as a whole was pretty decent this week. A good, solid build up for the Revolution pay per view. So yeah.
Yeah, overall, I agree with that. Overall, I thought it was I thought last week's show was very, very disorganized and almost like it had been just slapped together last minute. This seemed much more organized, much more prepared, much more professional, much better than last week. So I think it was a very good go home show, really, well, you've obviously got Rampage, but go home show from Dynamite for the pay per view. I thought it was really good. Everything sort of built for the pay per view, which is what you want. I didn't have any real issues with it, other than a few little things that I mentioned. But quality of matches and everything, and everyone that was around, yeah, was, as I say, it was all very good. So it's really good that. So should we move on to Revolution now, Russell? Do you want to sort of? Do you want
okay,
to?
So
I've only made very, very brief notes on this, but if you kind of lead on this, and then I'll come in after, and I've got a few notes here of things that I picked up as I was watching it.
yeah, to be fair, my notes are quite brief as well. But we'll see how we get on. Yeah, so starting with the buy-in, we had 3 matches on the buy-in. The first one was Layla Hirsch versus Chris Statlander. Not much to say about that really, except that I've changed my mind about Layla Hirsch. I used to slate her and say that she's not really a draw. I've changed my mind. I think she's a decent little wrestler. I can understand why they're pushing her. I thought she put in a strong performance here, and deserved to get the win. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I do like Layla Hirsch actually. I just think she's really different. You see, she's not like anyone else. She's a legit wrestler as well. Obviously you can tell that. But I think I thought this was interesting, Russell, because this is 2 people that are going in different directions. Layla Hirsch has been at the bottom and kind of come up really very much from the sort of dark sort of thing. Whereas Statlander at the beginning was one of the big names, and she's kind of like literally sunk down to the bottom of the barrel, really. So I think it was interesting that that we've had like 2 women going in different directions, and I'm quite like Layla Hirsch. I think she's, even though obviously she does look small, like I don't know, she's not very tall, but she does look legit still though, as her name says. She looks like she could wrestle anyone. So I like that, and I think when you've got you've got a lot of talent that AEW have got, you do need people who are different as well. Whereas they're not just a bog standard type of person. And I'd like to see a little bit more of Layla Hirsch and see, a bit more about her as well, because I think she could potentially be I'm not saying a main event person, but certainly a decent star though. So
Yeah,
that's my thoughts on that, Russell.
okay. Cool. Moving on. The second match on the buy-in was Hook versus QT Marshall. Yeah, not much to say about that. It was probably the most competitive match that Hook has had so far in EW. AEW, sorry. And yeah, unsurprisingly, he remains undefeated. He's pretty popular. I could see him making a run for at least the TNT title in the not too distant future. Don't know how you feel about that. yeah, not much else to say about that really. It was an okay match. So yeah, Hook
Yeah,
gets the win.
yeah, great. Yeah, good. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I'm a big fan of Hook. Actually, I really like Hook. So this was a good match. I liked it. It was a good match for the buy-in. I think, like you say, it was probably his biggest challenge yet. But obviously, I think it's bigger. I just think again, this is another example of where they've actually took a bit of time into actually getting somebody's gimmick right and getting him prepared as well. And I think obviously because he's Taz's son, obviously he's quite prepared. I just think you can tell the difference. He's not just some guy who's just done a bit of training. Who's just there's a lot of thought gone into his entrance, his gimmick, his wrestling moves. He's very different as well. There's not really anyone that does what he does and looks like he looks. So again, I think AEW really thinking about it now, the young talent they've got is just it's incredible, really. When you look at the certain other promotions and they don't have really any young talent. I mean, AEW's got so much talent now, young talent. It's pretty amazing, really. So yeah, so that was my thought, really. Yeah, like it, like Hook.
Okay, and next we had a little six-man tag between the House of Black, Penta Oscuro, Pac, and Eric Redbeard. Yeah, nothing wrong with the match as such. It was a nice little six-man. I've not put anything about that other than House of Black regain momentum. They got the win, which they needed after that loss to Penta and Pac that we touched on earlier. So yeah, nothing else to say about that really. Over to you.
Yeah, same. I really liked House of Black, so I like all these people really. So I just think that it didn't really mean anything again. Like pretty much everything that they've done with him so far. Don't think it really. I think it was a good match, but 3-man trios match. I don't really think it meant a lot really. But as I say, I liked it, but I'd like to see him do something more with them. Really, I think they've got one of the most to me and at least they've got a very interesting stable there. And I think you should do something. And also Penta, I think you could do something better with him as well with this new gimmick that they haven't really bothered to tell you much about. So it was a good match, but I would have done something more with him, I think. So that's me.
Okay, and then moving on to the show itself. The pay-per-view opened with Chris Jericho versus Eddie Kingston. Yeah, I actually thought this was a pretty good match. I put Kingston finally wins the big one. He won the match, got the big W over Jericho. Yeah, it was a good match, decent back and forth. I like the fact that it took several shots from Eddie's finisher to finally get the win. Made it more competitive. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that one.
Mm. I agree with you. I think this is one of Jericho's best matches in a long time. I just think, and I think as well that that style fits better with Jericho. That sort of strong style, that New Japan kind of style. I think it fits with what Jericho can do now. I don't think he can do the high flying stuff anymore that well. I think he's lost a step. But this match, I think, was perfect for him. And I also think he looked probably maybe in the best shape he's been in for a little while as well. And he's not a young guy either. He must be well in his 50s actually. So I just think Jericho looked really good, better than I've seen him in a while. Sorry, say again, Russell.
Same age as Daniels.
Oh, right, okay, right. So yeah, it doesn't obviously look as good as Daniels, but I thought it looked good for Jericho. It looked good. I thought there was a couple of matches. This was one of the best matches, I think, on the show. I think for me. And I didn't expect that really, because I didn't think it would be, but it was just, really well done. I was glad in a way that Kingston got the win, because obviously the storyline was that he can't win, like you say, the big one. So I was kind of glad that he did. And Kingston's always the emotion that he has in his matches is always top notch. But I just think this was, if it wasn't for another match on the show, this might have been even my favorite, So, and that's really surprised me, because I didn't expect it to be. I didn't think I'd really be that into it. So that's good. That's good for them. That's a good result then.
Yeah, it was a good little opener, and it's interesting that you say about Jericho with the high flying stunner off the top rope. Pretty well, I think, for a guy his age, early 50s. But yeah, not much else to say about that. Decent little opener, served its purpose. Having said that, I'm wondering if it might have been better served being placed a bit later on in the card. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. Anyway, so next we had the three-way tag title match between Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, Red Dragon, and the Young Bucks. I don't actually have much to say about this. It was a pretty decent match, as it was always going to be with these three teams involved. I just put Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus surprisingly retain, because I didn't think they would. I thought, I'm with you. I thought Red Dragon were going to take the titles in that one. I was a bit surprised that they didn't. So
yeah,
maybe it's too early in their tenure to give them a run with the titles. I don't know. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I was surprised actually. I didn't expect Jurassic Express to win. I really thought Red Dragon would win. Actually, that was my guess, and I was hoping that would happen, because I was then kind of looking forward to the Bucks against Red Dragon. I wouldn't have done this result myself, but obviously they like the Jurassic Express. So, but it was a great match. I've never, certainly on pay-per-view, I've never seen a bad Bucks match ever, I don't think. And quite often they're the match of the night. So it was it was a brilliant match. I mean, the stuff that they can do in the ring, they might be the best high flying team of all time, in my opinion. That's what I think. I'm thinking back. I can't really think of anyone else on the. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say the best tag team ever. I don't believe that personally, but high flying tag team, unquestionably, I think they probably are the best of all time, and they're not sort of super old either. So I just think, when you get the Bucks in a match with anyone who's even remotely competent, it's going to be you're not going to get any less than 4 stars, I don't think. So I'm a big fan of the Bucks. I love the characters, love the gimmick, love their attitude, everything, and even face or heel, they seem to be over whatever they are. So yeah, but I don't suppose it was disappointment, but I would have liked to have seen Red Dragon going over, though. I think that's what I think.
Yeah, I think that's the result that we should have had, really. But maybe each time there'll be a match between Jurassic Express and Red Dragon without the Young Bucks involved, and they'll win the belts then, or something along those lines. I don't know. So yeah, that's that one. And then we had the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Yeah, enjoyed it. All 6 wrestlers had their own parts to play in the match. Personally, I'm a little surprised that they went with Wardlow. They have been building him up as a potential big baby face. Potential baby face. But I was expecting somebody else to grab the brass ring. Pardon the expression. Yeah, not him at all. I read something which suggested that they might end up going with Keith Lee because it's his first big match with the company, and they wanted to give him a strong build. But no, I think it's a good thing that they went with Wardlow. Totally unexpected. And as I said a few minutes ago, I could potentially see Wardlow being the guy to take the TNT title and be the next champion. So yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I like the match. I was a bit like, I think we talked about before on the previous episodes where I was a little bit confused originally because they had quite a lot of big men, but it worked all right, really. I think it worked really well there. There were some really cool spots that they did, which obviously they needed probably big men to do it. There was a couple of things where Orange Cassidy was involved as well, where he was climbing up the ladder while people were holding on to it. And, there was things like that, which I suppose you couldn't do without the big men, I suppose. So, I was, it wasn't your normal kind of ladder match, I don't think, because normally your ladder match, you kind of just get people throwing themselves off ladders all the time and stuff. So, but it was good, and it was good because it was different. So that surprised me because at first I was a bit thinking, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this much, but I wasn't surprised though that Wardlow did win it because previously the face of a revolution has always been an AEW original. So I thought that if it wasn't Wardlow, I thought it would have been either Wardlow or Keith Lee anyway. But I wasn't surprised it was Wardlow, and to be honest, I'm pretty happy with that really because it now gives him that momentum to go after the TNT title. So, which I think he'll win anyway. I think he'll win the title. So I think it was a good match. There was lots of good stuff in there. I didn't really make a note of any specific sort of spots that I like, but there was a lot of it that I did like. I'm gonna probably rewatch the match as well, but it was really good. The only thing about this, and this is just a general criticism of ladder matches in general, when people are thrown out of the ring or they're thrown into the barrier or whatever, they tend to be out of action for 5 minutes or so, which I don't find that realistic really, where you just, there's two guys in the ring and then someone gets thrown out and another guy comes in almost like, on demand. So I just don't, that's the problem with ladder matches. I feel like people are just like sat out the ring waiting to come in really. So, but I suppose it's one of those things really, because otherwise if you've got 5 guys in the ring all at the same time, it just gets completely messy. But so if I was doing a ladder match, I probably wouldn't have 5 people in it, really. I think it just gets a bit too busy. And, unless you do some sort of huge move on someone on the outside, I don't know how you can justify them being out there for 5 minutes or whatever. I don't know. But I like the match anyway. No real issues. I like Wardlow winning it. So, yeah, good for me.
Yeah, same. Nothing much more to say on that other than for me it was quite short for a ladder match, I thought. And one of the spots I particularly liked was when one of the ladders broke in half, and they ended up fighting with half of the ladder each. Yeah, I thought that was quite good. But yeah, Wardlow gets the win. Let's see where we go from there. As you say, he'll probably end up winning the title. So yeah, that's that. Then we had an announcement stroke interview segment where they brought out Swerve Strickland. Not much to say on that other than it's an interesting one because I personally feel that not many people would know who he is unless they watch NXT. And a lot of fans don't. They either watch AEW religiously or WWE the two main shows, but not NXT so much. I'm mates with a guy who watches Raw and SmackDown every week, but doesn't bother with any of the other shows like NXT or Main Event. So, it's an interesting one. I had a feeling AEW would be where he would end up. I couldn't see him going to Impact. But yeah, let's see what they do with him. Any thoughts?
Yeah, agree completely what you just said, because I don't watch NXT. I've never seen him, to be honest. So it didn't really mean anything to me. Obviously, looks all right, looks charismatic, but no idea who he is. So I agree with you, and I think this is I've said this about AEW before, that they think that everybody watches every single wrestling show in the world, but they don't. So yeah, it was interesting, but I don't know who he is, so I'll wait and see when he debuts and see what he's got really. So I haven't got any comments. I don't know him, so.
Okay. Yeah, he's a decent little wrestler. I think he won the North American Championship while he was in NXT. We didn't have it for very long, and then Swerve and the rest of the members of Hit Row, as they were called, got drafted to SmackDown and didn't do anything, and then got quietly released. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, next up we had the TBS title match between champion Jade Cargill and challenger Ty Conti. I have an issue with that. For me, it should be the other way around. I think Ty Conti should be the champion and Jade Cargill should be the challenger. That's just me. So yeah, I put the same thing that I've been saying all along. Cargill still looking as green as ever, literally. However, her record remains unblemished. So they clearly think she's doing something right. What that something is, I'm not quite sure, but that's just me. I thought this was one of the weaker matches on the card. Not the weakest. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, Jade Cargill just does nothing for me. I'm sorry. I think I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think she's been rushed into this championship position that she's currently in, and she is not ready. I agree with some of what you said in the past to a certain extent. She has a great look and a certain aura about her, but she's just not great as a wrestler. That's my take.
Yeah, so I quite liked it, but then I love Tay Conti, and I quite like Jade in a funny sort of way. So I quite liked it. It wasn't the best match on the show, of course, but this might have been Jade's best match so far, which isn't saying that much, but I think it might have been a best match. Tay Conti, I agree with you. She's much more talented than Jade. I wouldn't mind seeing Tay Conti with the title as well, to be honest. So, but yeah, it was okay. But as I say, I think these two are big stars for the future. So the other thing that I kind of like was a bit of a sort of I don't know if you'd call it a wow moment, really. But when they did the snogging thing, I thought, that were like, whoa, that was like that sort of like whoa, and then they did it at the end as well. So I don't know what that was about, but yeah, not opposed to it, I suppose, but very just quite strange to do that in a match, really. But why not? So yeah, I didn't hate it, but like I agree with much of what you said, but I do like Jade a little bit more than you possibly. But yeah, she's Ty Conti's more talented, much more talented. So that's that's my thoughts really.
Okay. Let's move on. So next we had the dog collar match, CM Punk versus MJF. I really liked this match. There were parts of it which felt a bit kind of plodding to me, but I'm not saying that so much as saying it's a bad thing because they kind of had to do it that way because of the whole stipulation surrounding the match itself. I just put Punk puts down the rabid dog MJF in brutal, bloody fashion because Punk's face was a mess. I like the way they did it. I liked the Wardlow involvement at the end. He came down and made it look as though he was going to give the ring to MJF, and then ended up passing it in to the towards the direction of CM Punk, who used it to get the win. Really strong match. Not much else to say, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is probably my favourite match, I think, maybe. There was a few good matches, but this was probably one of my favourite matches. I just thought the whole thing, the build for it was amazing, like we talked about before. I just think both of the guys are so amazing. The story that they told was just really amazing. And the whole thing, the match was for a dog collar match. It was pretty good. And I don't generally like interference in big matches as a rule, but Wardlow didn't technically interfere, which I thought that was nice, because if he'd have interfered, I'd have been a bit let down, but he didn't actually technically interfere. So I like that. And obviously it's good to see Wardlow finally doing the face turn, which we both wanted anyway. And I was really glad that Punk got the win. So I wasn't sure which way it was going to go. I thought that they might give MGF another win, and I think that would have been a mistake. So this keeps the feud boiling. I don't think they'll go back to it straight away, but I think it keeps it boiling. And I think that's really good, because this to me is the best feud ever in AEW. I think, for me. I think it is. And it's not been that long, but I think they'll come back to it as well, because now they've got one each. I think now we're gonna have like a rubber match as well, and I could possibly even see that being for the title, so that could be even bigger. So yeah, look, really liked it, like the finish, like the match, everything. Just everything was good. There's nothing, I can't really find fault with anything that they've done in this feud, really, at all. So yeah, amazing, really.
They built it up really well, definitely. So yeah, that's that one. And next up, we had Britt Baker defending the Women's Championship against Thunder Rosa. For me, the weakest match on the show. I found it boring. I didn't really get into it. Kind of lost interest halfway through. Britt Baker retains. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. So what? Basically, that's my take on it. Don't get me wrong. I think she's a very good wrestler. I can see why she's champion. But the match, just didn't do it for me. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree with 100% that this was, for me, I'd even put the Jade time match over this, which might surprise a lot of people, but I
agree.
Yeah, that's a big statement coming from you, obviously, with your lack of love of Jade as well. But I just think that all this build for this match, this feud that affected, like, I think probably the best women's feud, I don't think they delivered on this match at all. It didn't seem to have the intensity of previous matches. It didn't feel like a big match to me, really, at all. And I'm surprised about that, because I think it might be the biggest match they've got, or potentially the biggest match that they've got now. I just don't think, I'm surprised, because I didn't expect, if going into this pay-per-view, I wouldn't have thought this would have been the worst match, but no. I think it was. So yeah, I agree with that, really. And I was also surprised that Britt Baker went over. I didn't think she would. I think she's run out of steam, really. I like Britt Baker. I like her gimmick. I think she's very charismatic. might be the most charismatic woman in the promotion, but I think she's gone too far. I think it's time to move on. And I was fully expecting Thunder Rosa to go over here. So I was kind of disappointed really because I thought, oh, I expected Thunder Rosa to win and I expected to start something a bit different. I feel like Britt Baker, to me, very similar to Adam Page, quite underwhelming in champion. You know, I don't feel like there's been a lot of intensity there. I don't feel like there's been any really amazing feuds. Really, it just seems to kind of, I don't know, that for me. So I think Thunder Rosa will win the title very, very soon. I don't understand why she didn't win it here. That to me doesn't make sense, but obviously there's a reason for it. So yeah, I agree with you. It wasn't, I didn't find it engaging either, really. And I like Britt Baker, so there we go.
I do. But it's time to give somebody else a run with the title. Whether that be Thunder Rosa or somebody else, I don't know. You know, Thunder Rosa is definitely talented enough to be the champion. So yeah, I'm really surprised that they decided not to go with her in the end for that one. So yeah, that's that. Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson. For me, this was the strongest match on the card by a mile. I thought it was a technical masterclass. Another bloody bout. I questioned why the crowd was so quiet. You know, they did seem pretty silent for much of the match. I'm not sure if that's because the action was so good and they were taken in by it, or what was going on there. I'm not sure. So yeah, Moxley sneaks away with the win. He got the pin after Danielson put him in one of his many submission holds, and the appearance of William Regal, which kind of surprised me a little bit. Pleasantly, I've always been a fan of his. I like his stuff. I like his work. He's a good character. I don't see him coming in to wrestle. I think he'll end up with a role similar to the one he had in NXT. Not as general manager, obviously, but more of an administrative type role. So yeah, as I say, really enjoyed the match. Good back and forth. Showcased both of them brilliantly, I thought. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, it was a good match. You know, I mean, I don't think you get bad Danielson matches really. To me though, this wasn't my favorite match. I'd take the Kingston Jericho match and also the Punk MJF match over this for me. But that's not to say, that's not looking to denigrate the match, because it was very good. It was just the other matches were even better. So it was a good match. I think the reason why the crowd wasn't into it, I don't really think there was a much build on it. And I don't think it really meant that much as well. I think that was kind of the problem. I would have put Danielson over, though. I don't agree with that. I would have put Danielson over. I think he's on the trajectory for a title, and I don't think Moxley is. So I didn't understand that result. But, you know, it's not a disaster either. But I didn't like the result, really. Wouldn't have been my choice to do that. But it was a solid match, like you say. You know, you're not going to get a bad match out of Danielson. Moxley is okay. He's not my cup of tea, like I said before. He's not really my cup of tea, but he's great at what he does. And he's a good character. So, but but do you know what I didn't like? And this is why we might disagree on this. I didn't like the Regal thing. I really didn't like this because I like Steven Regal, William Regal, whatever you want to call him. I think he's a great guy, a great wrestler, great mind, and I think he'll be very good for AEW. But I did not like this finish to the match. I think it made both of them look. I don't think it made them look good at all. Him sort of looking like slapping him around. I didn't like it. I thought it's making. It just made them look like young amateurs, and I don't think. I don't know. I didn't like it. That's why I didn't like it. I can understand why they did it, but I think if they'd done it with younger wrestlers, it would have been better. But I don't think it got either of them over as a main event, big talent, big stars. I don't think if that was done to a big star that they'd have reacted like that. So I didn't like this angle at all. I think it was a very bad decision. I like Regal. I'd have brought Regal out maybe, possibly, but I didn't like it. I don't think it. I think it completely went off the mark. I don't think they got the objective that they wanted on this at all. So I like the match. Didn't like the end bit really with Regal, but yeah, that's it. But the match was good. Might have been the third, fourth best match for me, but this was a stacked card though, so that's not a criticism.
No, that's a fair point regarding Regal. It did kind of make them look a bit weak. So yeah, I agree there. But I'm still happy to see him in AEW and be interested to see what they do with him. So yeah, and next we had the trios tornado tag team match. Bit of a mouthful. Yeah, Sammy Guevara, Darby, and Sting against Andrade, Matt Hardy, and rather randomly, as we touched on before, Isaiah Cassidy. I thought the match was okay. A couple of interesting spots in there. The Spanish Fly and the Stinger Splash, in particular through the tables, looked awesome, I thought. To no surprise of anyone, really, the fan favourites got the win, as expected. Let's say I thought the match was okay. Nothing much to say on it, really. For me, I would not have put this match before the main event. I think that was a mistake. We touched on the fact that they shouldn't have booked it at all, really. But yeah. I think it was the right move to make to have Sting be limited in terms of his involvement and get the younger guys over a bit more. Not much else to say on that, really. Yeah.
I agree. I would have put this match on earlier, me personally. I think this might have been a decent match to start, maybe our second matchup, maybe, I think. But I liked it more than I thought I would. I wasn't really looking forward to it, but I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I still don't like the fact that Isaiah Cassidy was in this match. Didn't look really out of place. But I did like the fact that all the office people came in and started to get involved, because that made it, But so the match was good. There was a few things. There was one particular thing that I didn't really like much, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But overall, I like the match more than I expected to like it. But the problem I've got with this match is, like I said all along, the build. There wasn't any real build for it. There wasn't any real storyline. These people just went in and tried to maim each other for no reason, really, apart from Andrade saying that Darby Allin was Sting's son. I mean, it needed a storyline to make it, we want to see it. Whereas I did kind of enjoy it, but there's a couple of things. The Sting dive through the two tables was amazing at 60-year-old. I mean, that was fucking awesome. So that was a nice spot, so I mean, maybe they just did the match for the Sting spot. I don't know. But Darby Allin missed the coffin drop, and that looked a bit stupid, actually. I would have been tempted to do that again. Alex Starr said, yeah, well, he hit him with his head. Well, he didn't really. He did do that. So that, obviously you're not going to hit all your moves, and that's the whole point, but get back up and do it again. That to me, that's what you would do, I think. It's supposed to be based on reality. So sometimes you are going to hit your moves, but beat him down and then do it again. That's what I would have done. So yeah, you don't pin someone when you just like nudge them with your head. No, I didn't like that. But other than that, it was good. But like I agree with you, I wouldn't have put this on before the main event this late in the card. I'd have had this a bit earlier on, really, I think. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, so let's move on to the main event. The two Adams, the champion Adam Page defending against Dad Bod Adam Cole. I don't actually have much to say about this match. It was pretty decent. Nothing wrong with it as such. Adam Page retains after a hard-fought match. Good, because Adam Cole is, in my opinion, not ready to be champion, both in terms of his physique, which we touched on a million times, and the fact that he's just not ready, in my opinion. I could see him potentially being the champion and carrying the company in a year's time, a couple of years' time, but not yet for me. But yeah, it was a good little match. There were some good spots in there. I liked the finish. I like that Adam Page got the win through using one of Adam Cole's own moves against him. I thought that was quite nice. Not much else to say on it, really. So over to you.
Yeah, I like the match. It wasn't in my top few of the night. I haven't really ranked the matches, but it wouldn't have been one of my top 4 matches. But then again, it was a very good card. It was a good match. I like the match. I've had my disappointment point home about Adam Cole anyway. I find him a very good wrestler. Find him very charismatic. I just don't feel like he's got the look of a champion. So he didn't get the title. So that was all right with me. I understand you want to put your main event with the title. I understand that, but there were 3 or 4, 5 matches on this pay-per-view that I found more interesting than this. So when I got to the main event, I was like, oh well, this is the main event, but really all the good matches have happened for me. So yeah, good match. No issues with the match. It was really good, and I did for a minute think that they might give Adam Cole the title, which I believe would have been a massive mistake, but thankfully they didn't do that. So yeah, that were all right. The only thing that spooked me about this match, and I had to Google this later on, was Adam Page is meant to be some kind of cowboy who doesn't take any shit, and he's wearing rainbow frills on his ring gear. Just thought that was really weird. But when I Googled it, this is another problem. This is the same problem that I mentioned earlier. Apparently, he was making some kind of point about some political point where someone had passed some legislation on something. And I just think, right, how ridiculous is this? I don't like it. Like I said before, whatever your opinions are, keep them to yourself. It just looks stupid. He's meant to be this kind of like no nonsense cowboy, and he's wearing like some sort of rainbow things on his tights. Just thought it would look stupid. And then especially when I Googled it and found out that it was actually trying to make some kind of political point, I liked it even less then. So yeah, didn't really like that much. Liked the match, but again, I liked the match, but again, there was things in it that I didn't agree with. So, and as I say, this is not my. This is the thing is the more I'm seeing Adam Page, the less I like him as a champion, unfortunately. And I'm not. It's not like me. Like normally when you see someone, you kind of think, oh yeah, he's growing on me now, and I'm like, the more I see him, the less I like him as a champion. The more I see him, the more I want to see Punk or Danielson or MJF as champion. Really, it's just like and especially when you're doing silly things like this in a main event match, trying to make some weird point. I just think, no, let's get someone else in. I mean, problem is, this is what I think's happened. Back in the day, Adam Page has been one of the young stars. They've said to him, "We're going to give you the title," and then they've got all these real good talented people in, and they've still gone ahead with it. They should have kind of pivoted and moved and said, "Look, we'll come back to you when you're actually properly over," but they haven't done. So it's not really working for me. This Adam Page title run. He's not bad I don't have a problem with him in the ring. Just again, he's just one of these people. Again, doesn't look like a star to me. He don't. Again, just dressing like he did on this match. Don't look like a star. Don't talk like a star. Don't do promos like a star. Don't face legitimate competition sometimes. Hangs around with mid-card guys. It's not working for me really, if I'm honest. So I used to quite like Adam Page, but in my rankings, he's gone down now. He's gone well down my rankings. Used to be kind of up there, thinking, oh, really, one of the top young talents. I don't think that no more. So he's done an amazing job of getting this guy on the top of the promotion, and I'm actually liking him less every time he wrestles. So yeah, so so there we go. That's my thought on that. There was just one other thing that I picked up from this show, and it wasn't a match, but I just wanted to kind of bring it up because I thought it was interesting. Dan Lambert was in the crowd with I think he was with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, but also was Paige Van Zandt. And I'm a massive, huge, super fan of Paige Van Zandt. So this to me is going to be amazing. This is to me, this could be AEW's Ronda Rousey. She is like the most charismatic MMA person, that's probably woman that's ever lived, I think. She's obviously more talented than pretty much everyone on the roster, probably a lot of the men as well. So to me, this is super exciting for me. Has she signed whatever, but just to see her in the crowd, in the crowd with Dan Lambert, I was like, that's interesting me. I'd like to see her get a very, very big push, and and give it, and even give it a title, really, because I mean, she is going to be a megastar. I'll tell you this for a fact, before I've even seen her, she's going to be a star, 100%. So that was exciting for me to see her sort of knocking around. So that's something I'm looking forward to anyway. So that's my thoughts, Russell.
Forgive my ignorance here. I don't even know who she is.
Right. Okay. So, well, basically, she's an MMA sort of. You won't know her if you don't follow the MMA. She was UFC. She was in UFC and stuff, but she's in those circles. She's a massive, massive name. But she's also like not only just MMA, but she's actually really famous social media wise. She's got a massive, massive following. So yeah.
All right, okay.
But yeah, again, it's one of these things. I suppose it's a bit like the NXT thing, really. If you don't follow it, you won't know who she is. But really, this is, to me, this is Ronda Rousey kind of thing for me. And I just hope they use her right and don't do anything silly. Like originally, there was going to maybe book her against Brandy Rhodes. Dear me, that would have been an absolute disaster. But that, hopefully, touch wood, if they do right by her, give her a proper push, then sky's the limit, I think. So okay. Yeah, that's my thought.
I don't have anything else to say on that, really. I don't know who she is. I'll have to give her a Google and find out a bit more about her.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's our review of Dynamite from last week and the subsequent Revolution pay per view. Yeah, anything else to add?
Yeah,
Or should
what
we leave?
overall, what was your overall sort of feeling of the pay-per-view then, Russell? What do you think overall?
I liked it. Yeah, it was a strong show. Um, Probably miles better than the little stupendous 2 night event that we've got coming up in April from the other company. I'm not impressed with the lineup that they've come up with for that so far at all. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, it was a really good pay per view. Punk MJF, Moxley and Danielson, um, Kingston Jericho. Tick tick tick. A lot on there to like. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, yeah. There wasn't anything that I really disliked on this show at all. It was, I mean, like you say, it's splitting hairs really because there was so many good matches. You know, it's splitting hairs really. That there wasn't anything that as I say, even really, even on the pre-show, really, there was nothing like there was no sort of Nyla Rose match where I just wanted to just turn my TV off or anything. It was really good stuff, and as I say, I mean, really, the MGF Punk, um, for me, the Jericho Kingston, the Tornado tag match, not the Sting one, but the three-way match for the title. That was to me was an amazing match. And the Danielson one I liked as well. So yeah, it could be one of the I'm sort of thought about rankings, but might be one of the best shows really in a long time, I think, top to bottom.
yeah,
So there we go then. So
cool.
if we've not got any more closing comments, we'll. It's been a bit of a long one tonight. So we've done Dynamite and Revolution, but so yeah, if we've got no more comments, we'll sign off then, Russell, for tonight. So right then, so
Okey-doke.
good night from me and good night from you, Russell.
Good night.